Laws on the books in 33 states protect clergy members from having to report abuse of children to authorities. Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins joins me to talk about what's happening with that issue. Well, your take is probably the same as mine. A, there shouldn't be any protection. B, if somebody has confessed, God bless them, maybe they'll save their soul from going to hell, but that still doesn't protect the child.
Yeah, and just this year alone, we've seen obviously, the Southern Baptist Convention with their massive scandal, Scientology with their scandals, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons with their child abuse scandals. So we're talking about off the charts right now levels of child abuse being reported that happened for decades before anybody came forward.
Well, right, every attempt, whether you're talking, there's a whole list of states that say that there's 33 states that say, yeah, we're going to give them some kind of protection. Every time there's a run at that, the money that comes in to stop it, the lobbying money is Catholic Church, the Mormons, God, probably the Scientologists, I can't say for sure. But the point is, there's no constitutional protection here at all. This isn't like a lawyer-client privilege. There's some constitutional rights that attach to that. There's no constitutional protection here. This is a legal fiction that has been created by these churches, really.
Yeah, and it's very weird to me that these churches are in the business of protecting these individuals. They don't really stand to gain anything from protecting people who are abusing children. That's what really drives me crazy about this. Is there's no, if a person comes in and confesses and said, yes, I raped an 8-year-old, the priest or whoever is not going to go and report that, but they don't gain anything from not reporting it either. So that to me is what is weird.
Ultimately, the church suffers, and the church, because they can't seem to figure out, you have to clear them out. A pedophile is always going to be a pedophile. When I used to prosecute, and the same people would come up all the time, the same pedophile problems. And they've done study after study that says you can't change this. So when somebody comes to a priest and they say, I'm abusing children, sexually abusing kids, there is absolutely no precedent. No, there's no constitutional precedent at all that says that priest should not have to go tell the authorities.
Well, and if a teacher sees signs of abuse, they're legally required to report. Doctors are legally required to report. I mean, the teachers and doctors can get in trouble if they do not tell this.
That's right.
And these pastors, priests, whatever, they can hear it from the person's mouth saying, right before I walked in here, there was a kid out there, and the priest
Well, of course, the church is worried about lawsuits and losing money, and they're so short-sighted that they don't understand it's whether you're going to pay today or you're going to pay tomorrow. And if you pay tomorrow, it's going to be a lot more money. Yeah. God knows how much money we have collected from churches and organizations that have tried to cover up, where they've tried to cover up the bad deeds.
Because it's people in the church doing it.
That's correct. That's correct. Local news is dead, but reviving it could help save, I guess, this country. I don't know. Tell me about this story. You and I, of course, I end this show by saying every week that what we do, corporate media can't do, because their attachment to all the advertising money is so strong, and their political involvement is so deep-seated, you see. And that's what's killing the American corporate media.
Yeah, it is. And this was a great op-ed. It really caught my attention. Washington Post opinion writer Perry Bacon Jr., just so everybody knows, puts out this wonderful piece where he starts talking about, we got to put money, $10 billion he's calling for, in local news. Yes. And I think a lot of it does have to do with the fact, like you say, corporate media can't tell stories anymore.
Right.
But more and more, corporate media has bought up your local newspaper, your local news outlet, your Channel 3 ABC News or whatever you got in your area. Corporate media is owning it. And because of that,
Sinclair,
Clear Channel, all of these groups, so it is a big monopoly. And what are they doing? They're telling you, okay, somebody got shot on the street near your house, we got that. But then other than that, it's national news.
One thing we do, and I'm so proud working with you, and I have for so many years. We've been together 20 years doing this kind of stuff, arguing back and forth, and I just so respect your opinion. But the reason people tune in, the reason our traffic is as high as it is because people get a chance to see what corporate media doesn't talk about. I would say 3/4 of the stories we do on this show, corporate media doesn't touch.
Right.
If they touch it, it's like a headline and then it disappears. I think this is what replaces that, Farron. I really do. So the $10 billion, if they're going to spend that kind of money, it needs to really focus on who's telling the story. And to me, as you know, I could give I could not care less that some jerkwater writes a comment, Papantonio's too right, Farron's too left. That has no impact on me.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, what we do, as you probably know, is we try to get in a thinking audience, an audience that says, I'm not so damn tribal that I can't think of the other side. That's the problem with media. It's so polarized.
Well, and we need a local media almost as much. People need to pay attention to local media like they do with local elections and local school board races. All politics is local. All news should also be local.
Yeah.
And we need to hear about, how many cases have you tried because an entire town, a small town, but 20, 30,000 people, poisoned by a massive mega corporation? Those are
or the government.
Right. Those are the stories that the local news has to tell.
Local news can't tell it because they don't typically, they're not interested in investigative journalism. The advertising industry controls them. They don't have any ability, management's not going to let them tell the story. That was my experience with MSNBC, and any times I would appear there just to contribute, you can't tell that story.
Yeah.
But we can tell the story. And what I'm trying to say is this is the kind of place that I think will end up replacing what we term corporate media. And because I think we have a different attitude. It's called reckless abandon. I don't really care if somebody agrees or disagrees with me because we're fine financially. Nothing's going to put us out of business.
Yeah, you don't have to play nice. You don't have to, placate anybody. We can do whatever we want to do because we have that freedom.
Yeah.
And we've made a damn good product with that freedom.
What have you started doing when people tap in, I'm going to unsubscribe because I disagree with you? I say, don't let the door hit you on the butt on the way out. Thanks, Farron.
Thank you.
That's all for this week, but all of these segments will be available in this coming week right here on this channel, and you can follow us on Twitter at America's Lawyer. I'm Mike Papantonio, and this has been America's Lawyer, where every week we tell you stories that corporate media won't tell you because their advertisers don't let them, or their political connections are so deep that it won't allow for it. We'll see you next time.